She'll be under for about a half an hour. The doctor will be up shortly.
Hello and welcome back to the Quantum Leap Podcast. I'm Albie, and today with us we have from Ben Interrupted. He played the Burly Nurse. We have Armando Mcclain. How you doing, Armando?
I'm good. How are you, Albie?
Good. Ever since I found out we were talking to you, I've been saying Armando. I just like that name. That's a pretty cool name.
Yeah, you should add my middle name in there too, Armando Leon Mcclain.
Armando Leon Mcclain. Okay,
yes.
From now on, that's what I'll call you. That sounds great. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
I'm excited to talk to you, learn a little bit more about the production of Ben Interrupted. And I want to do that. But before I do that, I want to talk to you about your career, how you got into acting, your background, all that stuff. I looked you up and I saw some of the stuff you did, and I'm excited to talk about that as well. But we'll get there probably chronologically. But what gave you the acting bug? I know you did a lot of theater, but what did you start out doing in acting?
Yeah, it was totally by accident in high school, actually. I signed up for a journalism class my freshman year in high school. And then on a dare, somebody said, you should put down drama as an alternate because, you need alternates in case you don't get the class that you want. Right. And then I put it down. It's like, yeah, whatever. And then I didn't get into the journalism class and I got stuck in the theater. And I tried to transfer out of that class like literally 3 different times. First time I lost my pass. Second time I knew the pass was in my bag, but it just like disintegrated. And then the third time, because the teacher has to sign the pass, and he's like, "Are you sure you want to get out of this class? Because I'm not signing another one of these passes." And I'm just like, "Yeah, it's just not my thing." Shy, awkward kid, still kind of am. And but by then we'd done like a couple like icebreaker games and stuff like that or whatever, and so he got to know me a little bit, and he's just like, and he's one of those like really mean teachers, but he's just like, well, you should come back. You've done some good work, and we would love to have you, because like yeah, what are you, like a junior? Because I was really tall. And it was like, no. It was like, sophomore? No. And he's like, and then he laughed and he's like, don't tell me you're a freshman. I'm just like, yeah, I'm a freshman. Just like, well, you got plenty of time. You've done some really good work, and really, we would love to have you. I'm just like, okay, yeah, thanks. And then I walked to the office to turn in my pass. I held on to it this time so I didn't lose it. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking like, this really mean teacher was nice to me, and I go all the way to the office and I'm just like, I've done all the things. I'm still alive. What the heck? It's just a semester. And then I tore up the pass, and then just it became one of my favorite classes. Wow. Yeah. So since high school.
What were some of the first productions you did in high school?
One of the first productions that we did that I was a part of, there's this theater group in Chicago called the Neo-Futurists, and their big thing was that they did plays, 30 plays in 60 minutes. So like 2-minute plays. So wow. We did a bunch of those. Yeah. And it's like, kind of avant-garde, like, quick stuff, but also like funny or really like tragic, like, but they just went for it. And so we did a collection of those. And then our main stage show that we ended up doing was Crimes of the Heart by Beth Henley. Where I got to play the quirky lawyer or whatever and love interest and stuff. So that was a lot of fun. And it was really fun because that show in particular used flashbacks, and we had twins. So we got to do like the ultimate special effect. Well, while one twin is narrating what's happening, the other twin was acting it out with like on the other side of the stage. So it's like our big, cool theatrical trick that we got to do.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
When did it switch from something that seemed like it would be fun to this is what I want to do for a career?
After high school, I was doing junior college and stuff like that. And, I was still in theater. And then I just started I was there for a while, and then I started getting work in the Bay Area. That's where I was based, San Francisco, Oakland, Bay Area. And then I started getting work in the professional theaters and stuff like that. And I was like in these rooms with like professional actors who have their like equity card and all that other kind of stuff. And I was like the only one that wasn't, but I was still in the room, you know what I mean? So I was just like, oh wow, like this is pretty cool. And like they were paying me to do it and stuff. And, but I was seeing those actors who were like, they were building stuff because they had the tools to like build their performance. So stuff that I would be reaching for, like, I want to hit that moment or whatever. Like they're consistently doing it because they know how to, like, they have a process and they have steps. And I'm just like, well, I want that training. And so after that, I applied to 2 schools, Juilliard and CalArts. Got called back for both.
Wow.
There was one that I was really interested in because they were just like, or really interested in what you have to say as an artist. And I've never really like considered myself an artist, like it's just like, I'm an actor. I get up there, say lines, make funny things or whatever. And, but that was CalArts. And that was the school that I was just like, okay, well, I really want to get into the school. And ultimately the choice was made for me because like Juilliard said no, CalArts said yes. And I'm just like, good, I don't have to decide. And yeah, it was great, man. It was like, is it sort of avant-garde school in terms of like theater and stuff like that. They're based in Valencia, California, but a lot of cool stuff. And it was the first time that I was like immersed in art of all forms, like all around me. Like they had a dance school, they had animation, a lot of like the Pixar kids come out of there and stuff. And yeah, it was really cool. And like, I knew by going to that school that like, okay, I'm going into debt. I'm committing to this, I'm committing to like making this a career. And yeah, they gave us, that it wasn't just, we didn't just have to do acting like on stage. There's film, there's voiceover, there's motion capture, there's all these other things that you could do that aren't just like this one thing. And then also like teaching and stuff. And I feel I have a, soft spot in my heart just because that's the way I found acting. That's the way I found theater. And so I do a lot of teaching artist stuff as well. So yeah.
Yeah, acting, teaching, that's pretty awesome. And the voice work, of course, you do that. That's pretty cool. I listened to your voice work demo, and I couldn't believe all those characters were you. So you have a very good range when it comes to character work or voiceovers.
Yeah, and I didn't really like find all those things until like I was at CalArts. Like my low, like soft and warm, the quiet storm voice that didn't come until I was at CalArts and like was able to like access all that stuff.
So what kind of classes did you take there? Like what do you focus on?
It was mostly theater, but so like a typical day at CalArts, you would be like voice and text work, which, and then movement stuff, and then your studio time where you work on like, scenes or plays or stuff like that. And then the next day it's like other types of movement stuff. And then like, whether it would be a voiceover class or something like that. But you would be in classes all day practicing stuff. So, and then after all that's done, then you have the main stage shows, which are just like, 7 to 11, rehearsing for those and stuff like that. And then if you were really crazy and wanted to do something on your own, we would have like, the after hours, like, coffee house, like, rogue sort of like performances and stuff like that. So yeah, it was constant.
I picture something like the TV show Victorious. I don't know if you've ever seen that, but where they're like in art school and they do all kinds of different acting stuff. Seems like a lot of fun. Good way to learn your craft.
Well, you're basically like taking yourself apart and putting yourself back together again. And yeah, and I was very lucky there because like after my first year, I was invited into the MFA program because I went in as a BFA, even though I had some college before. So I was kind of like doing both at the same time. So I ended up like getting 2 degrees for the price of one, basically. So
That's
like,
awesome.
so I was like really working all the time.
I noticed you did some Shakespeare. That's not so easy, is it?
No. And actually like I was very afraid of Shakespeare for a long time because like, I'm a person of color. I'm Black and I'm Mexican. I like to say I'm Blaxican. I'm both at the same time. And, typically I didn't really see a lot of myself in Shakespeare and stuff. But while I was at Chabot Community College, we came up to the Oregon Shakespeare Festival on like a school trip or whatever. And it was at that time I was just like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm pretty good in high school. Oh yeah, I'm pretty good in college or whatever. Getting some roles in the Bay Area, that's cool. But then I would come to that place and I'm just like, oh right, this is like real deal like acting. And it was the first time I actually seen like Shakespeare done well. And when you see Shakespeare done well, you don't even have to like read it before or anything like that. You can tell because the actors know what they're saying. You know what they're saying, and they're so clear in their text and their intention and just everything that you just understand the story. And and the first show that I saw there was like Othello, and a person like me owning the room with his voice and everything like that. Derek Lee Whedon was the actor playing Othello. And I'm just like, what? Like, that's what I want. I want to be able to do that. And I was fortunate enough to like, work at the Oregon Shakespeare Festival after graduating from Cal Arts for 5 seasons. And I'm actually back here right now.
Does it like the Shakespearean language? I guess it's a language because it's English, but
yeah,
it's way different. Because I'm intimidated watching Shakespeare stuff. I enjoy it, and I don't understand what's happening while I'm watching it. But like I understand what I watched after I watched it, if that makes sense. Like you were saying,
yeah, it sort of like gets in your lizard brain and like processes it.
Yeah, it takes it's like buffering a little bit as I go. Does that make it more difficult to learn the lines for that kind of stuff, or do they teach you like tricks or anything?
A lot of people like, because there's a rhythm to Shakespeare. The iambic pentameter. You can sort of ride that sometimes, and like it's like, oh, I've said it. Oh, it didn't sound right because I was off rhythm. There's things like that, and it is poetry. I mean, like as long as you give yourself over into like the imagery and stuff like that, it does make it a little bit easier. But for me personally, like, I'm dyslexic. So learning that stuff, like I really need to just take my time and go through it. And I also like record myself saying the lines, like in a very like bass, non sort of like emotional, just the lines, just so I can like get it in my head while I'm like, at the gym or like, washing dishes and stuff like that. So like, I'm doing something physical while also listening to it. That helps me a lot.
Cool. So after you got out of school, then what happened?
After I got out of school, I was, in LA for a little bit. I got into a car accident. I'm okay. Everybody's okay. But literally after the car accident, I got a phone call, which I didn't answer, but it was a job offer for the Bay Area and to go back home, basically. And then my car was totaled. So I'm just like, oh, well, this is a sign, I should probably go home. And so I did that. And then I was in the Bay Area for a little bit. And then I got called up to the Oregon Shakespeare Festival and had a wonderful time there. It's just a magical place with like artistry that's really like top notch, not just on stage, but also like behind the scenes, like the costumes, the sets, all the stuff with like, the rigging and everything like that. Cause they're a repertory theater. So they're doing multiple shows all at the same time. So you have crews that are like, you're seeing Rent in the morning and then like crews come over and change over the entire set. And then you're seeing Romeo and Juliet at night, like the people that do all that stuff, top notch, amazing. But then after that, moved down to LA in like 2019, was still doing a show in New York. The Julius Caesar that we did here went to New York. So I went with that and then did another show in the Bay Area and then finally landed in LA, ready to go at the beginning of 2020. And then everything just kind of stopped.
Yeah. Was that an advantage or disadvantage? Because you had more time before you started things.
Yeah, it's, it was a way to like sort of gather ourselves and like find our footing in the area and stuff like that, reconnect with friends and stuff. And, even at a distance or whatever, but just get plugged back into the whole like Southern California, LA scene and stuff. So in that way, it was, it was good and not the pressure of just like, just because I'm not working doesn't mean the world stopped because, well, everybody's not working. So I'm not taking it personally, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But I was still finding ways to like, do Zoom performances or something like that or whatever. And still auditioning every once in a while, like via camera and stuff like that. But like, it was a way to like sort of take the pressure off of like, you have to do something now. But yeah, and it got me used to like, camera work and stuff, certain things like that.
So was moving to like television, film, was that a conscious decision and something that was always part of your plan, or how did that happen?
I think it's always been part of my plan. I just, having consistent work is like a sort of godsend for actors. So, and the contract at the Oregon Shakespeare Festival was like, 10 months. So 10 months of work, that's like, it's pretty good. So walking away from that had to be a choice. And yeah, I love movies. I love watching television. I love the stories that they're able to tell, just because they're like, you don't have to imagine that we have a horse on stage. There's an actual horse there. We don't have to imagine that we're on a cliff. We're actually on location, that sort of stuff. And just the quality of television has just gone up tremendously over the past, few years and stuff like that, like rivaling some movies and stuff. And just like,
absolutely.
And the fact that like now stories are, more reflective of people like me and stuff. And like, I have things to say. I have stories I want to tell, and just wanting to be a part of that and stuff. So I've always wanted to lean towards television and film. And then having the opportunity to be on Quantum Leap, even in my small capacity, just like seeing the way that like the sausage gets made, and just how many people are like, on set, taking care of this aspect, taking care of that aspect, and how everybody's like doing their work to make this one thing happen, which I think is really cool. Like how many times, other than like sports or something like that, is like a group working towards like creating, in this case, art, and storytelling. So I think it's always been on my bucket list. And now I'm finally getting to like dip my toes in it a little bit more.
Yeah. This is your first television appearance, correct? Quantum Leap.
Yeah. My first network TV and stuff.
That's pretty huge. I think, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. For me.
Can you take me through that process? Maybe auditioning and how you got the role?
Yeah. It came through my agent. And she's like, hey, we have this thing, might work out or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Like they are asking for tape and stuff. And so, and basically it was a moment where I'm giving, I forget her character name. I think it's Judith. Like, like I'm injecting stuff on her and stuff like that, and saying my one line. It's like, she'll be under for about a half an hour. The doctor will be up shortly. That whole thing. And so I use my lucky charm, which is, my wife being like, like reading with me on script and stuff like that. So she was the arm, like off camera, that I was holding on to. And then like, like that and whatever. And then like, had some emotion reaction about that, but also just kind of like, but he's Burly Nurse. So, some shoulder action, just like, and then just like into the camera, and then just walk off. And then you send it off and you never know or whatever. And then like, I heard from my agent, just like, hey, you're pinned, just so you know. Like, so cool. You're in consideration. Just like, that's fantastic. And then a couple of days later, she's like, they want to use you. And I'm just like,
wow,
fantastic. And then yeah. And then before I knew it, I was like going in for fitting, and then like, meeting with hair and makeup and stuff like that. And then I was on set.
Was the character always Burly Nurse, or was that because of your height and stature?
It was always in the script. When I got it, it was always Burly Nurse.
Okay.
Okay. And I know like in the credits, it might have just said nurse, but we all know he's Burly Nurse.
Did you come up with any kind of backstory for your part, like a name or a little bit of a backstory, how working in the mental institution back then?
Well, I sort of latched onto like Lawrence's backstory in terms of like his relationship with the doctor and stuff, and how like they were in the war together and everything like that or whatever, and like he saved him and stuff. So I was like, if he's doing something this like perverse, he probably has people around him that he trusts and stuff. So I was probably part of that, like that crew, that troop or whatever. And plus like a lot of the nurses that they had were like big guys, So I sort of locked into that in terms of like feeding with the story and stuff.
So I'm trying to picture like your first television role, and it's a network TV show. Like the night before you're due on set, Are you going like, are you having like anxiety? Are you having imposter syndrome? Are you going, oh my goodness? Can you take me through that?
Yeah, all those things, and just like some. But what's cool is you get the day before they give you the breakdown of what you're going to be doing for the following day. So I knew what to expect. The only thing that I was nervous about was like the fact that like it said stunt or whatever, and that was the part where I get hit in the back of the head and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, okay, well, are we going to talk about that, or are we just going to do it? Like, what's the situation? And also, like, I didn't want to be late, so I showed up like really early. I showed up like maybe an hour, 15 minutes early, just because like good impression, don't get fired. That's like you have the job, just don't get fired. So yeah, and the PA guy was great, and the hair and makeup guy was like very encouraging because I had met him a couple days before for fittings and stuff like that. And he was just like, he was giving me a little bit of lowdown. It's just like, everybody's really cool. It's chill, just if you need something, ask for it. And if you're unclear about something, just ask, speak up. His name was Q. He's very, very great and welcoming. And then, yeah, I get in my costume, I'm waiting there, for my turn. Cause it's staggered and everything like that, and have my own trailer. So I'm just like, oh, this is cool.
Wow. Yeah. I saw that with Burly Nurse on the door.
Yeah. And it's like, it's a long trailer with like your own like little spot or whatever, but it's just nice. It's just like, oh, okay. I have my own space to like get ready. And then they call you on set and they like rehearse what you're going to do and stuff like that. And then, but the first thing that we were doing was the hit and the struggle and all that other kind of stuff. And what was funny was, I'm not sure they accounted for how slippery the floor was in that scene. So there was a lot more struggling that wasn't on, like, that didn't end up like in the episode, but it was both Ray and I just like kind of slipping around, which was worse for him just because he was in the straitjacket. So he can't like brace himself or anything like that. So I was like trying to struggle with him, but also like making sure that he was okay and stuff or whatever. But this is like the first moment, and like, he's number one on the call sheet. And I don't want to mess this up. I don't want to, hurt you or anything like that. So I was very careful, and he was very like giving and stuff like that. He's like you can, you can grab me more. You can like really get in there. So, oh, okay. So, we got to like a moment where we were just like both happy with what we were doing and stuff like that. But, and then like they do the hit thing, and then I like, maybe it's the theater training or whatever, but like I do the hit and then I fall and they're just like, cause they had a stunt double there for me.
Oh, did they? Wow. Okay, cool.
But they were ready just in case, like, cause they didn't know me, they didn't know my work. So they wanted to be prepared, but like I did the first thing, and then like this coordinator's like, he's got it, he's fine. But we kept doing it like, like 7-8 times or whatever for this angle, and then also for the other angle. And then towards the end, like I think it was like the 8th or 9th hit where I fall, I actually landed on the bed a little hard and I broke the bed.
Well, you are burly, so.
Yeah, I'm burly, which kind of scared me. I was like, oh shit, I didn't mean to break anything. But it was just like, okay. But it was really great, and everybody's very supportive, like, which just, whenever you're new anywhere, as long as people are welcoming with smiles and interested in like knowing who you are, at least, it was great. Yeah. Had
you watched the show to prepare a few episodes?
I watched at least 5 episodes. I just binged them straight through, and I was just like, oh wow, I really like the show, and especially like the Western episode with the town, with all the different like people in the town, and then it was just like, wow, this is really cool, and this is really like, inclusive and stuff, and that's something that I want to be a part of. Yeah, and then like, Ray being like number one on the call sheet, like the lead of the show is also, and he's like the nicest guy, really down to earth, really chill.
Yeah. I saw a photo of you and him like on the set together, just taking a picture. Yeah. That was nice.
Yeah, he was in a show that originated the role, and that show ended up going to Oregon Shakespeare Festival where I was. So we knew a lot of the similar people and stuff like that. And I told them that I was on set with him, and he's like, oh, let's take a picture, send it to them and whatever, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, really nice, really chill. And yeah, from the theater as well, which is great.
Yeah, he's a great guy. Was there anything that surprised you going from live theater to, television with cameras and marks and different lightings and different setups? And what surprised you the most about that?
What I wouldn't say there's a lot of surprising things, but well, I guess so, because like you always hear about it between like, the theater where things are, lots of gestures and everything like that, which, it varies on how big the theater is. You'd be in a real intimate theater and like you are doing cinematic acting, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But also with the camera, like on set, there's all these people around, and just finding your room to navigate in that. It's like you can know it like in your mind, like you're told it, but like to actually like experience it and just like feel how, like, even looking at the doctor when like he's pacing back and forth, how going like this is one thing, but going like this is another thing, like the subtle adjustments between like head movements and eyes, because it's a lot of what I observed was a lot of it had to do with like your eyes and your focus and stuff, and being very clear on that. And, being able to work with like, Patrick Fischler, who's like, he's a character actor who's done like every show. I think he was actually
Everything.
filming. He was filming on another show while he was also filming with us, like
Oh,
on the
wow.
day in between. Like he had to go somewhere else to do something else, but he was like the nicest guy. I was basically his right hand, like heavy guy, but like he was very nice to me.
That's great. How many days did you do on the shoot? Was it 1 or 2 or?
I was on set for 3 days.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Scheduled for 4, but just on set for 3 days. Yeah.
What was your second day like?
It was basically just following Patrick Fischler around as the doctor and being like, the intimidating force behind him and everything like that or whatever. So yeah. But it was great just because I got to see how somebody who has so much experience navigates, like coming in for one, these couple of days, making a strong impression, very clear about his intentions and everything like that. And just observing how he and the rest of the cast like navigated and like, solved problems on the spot for like, issues that were coming up, like something wasn't working right or sounding right, but they were like, but they weren't complaining about it. They were just like, well, what if we did this? Like always come with a solution sort of thing. And because they know the field and like, what the camera is and everything like that, they came up with solutions that fit for the camera. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Did you get any direction from the director?
Yeah. Jude was very nice in terms of like, like giving me intentions of like, okay, when you come in there to like, give him his shot or whatever, he's just like, you really need to get this done. He's awake, blah, blah, blah. You need to get him back to sleep, back under control. You need to get him under control. So that whole intention of doing that and everything like that. And then just always bringing energy to whenever you enter or whatever, blah, blah, blah. It's not, you're not just like walking on stage like we're a boy band in the back, playing the doctor and like that. It's like, no, we're here to like get stuff done. And she wanted to feel that. So like, that's what we did, that sort of stuff. But she was great. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. I always hear great things about everybody on that crew and everybody involved. So it's nice to hear that.
Yeah.
I want to come back to Quantum Leap, but also I want to talk a little bit about your voice work. You have you do a podcast, and I listened to the first episode. It's like a dramatic podcast, like a noir mystery, and it has to do with DOS and computers and bulletin boards, and I'm definitely hooked. So I definitely will listen to the rest of them. But tell me a little bit about that, because I really enjoyed that. Like, I just wanted to compliment you on your work on that, because it's very like, it sucks you in, and it's very, you feel like you're right there. It's like a good audiobook almost.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that was a random submission on Actors Access. This guy, Joshua Wise, he has this whole like, podcast universe of all these like creepy things or whatever called Weeping Cedars. And this is like an offshoot of that sort of thing. And I just sort of submitted for it. Initially, I didn't get it. Somebody else got it, but but he came back to me because he's just like, well, that guy, his equipment isn't great or whatever. So we want to see if you would be interested, or, we could see what your equipment's like. I was just like, yeah, sure. Of course. And thankfully, like, I have friends in the community that like do voiceover work that have like, a solid like booth sort of thing. And so I was able to like go to my friend AJ Hamilton's his setup, and he said it sounded great. And then and then his writing is just so engaging. Like just reading it, like I want to know what's happening next. It's totally his thing, but like I'm like really engaged and like, well, what's season 2 going to be like? What's season 3? We do have a season 2. It will be coming out, but the whole story is like I think going to be like a 3-part thing, hopefully. But yeah, the Samite podcast is one. I'm proud of that stuff. I'm proud of it. And I'm really glad that people are like, when they listen to it and they get hooked, it's just like, great. That has 90% his writing, 10% my dulcet tones. So.
Yeah, I was about halfway through the first episode when I hit subscribe. I was like, yeah, this is good. Yeah.
Awesome.
You're very good in that character. You also have more voice work coming up. You got your character in an animated series about time travel, which interests me. So can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, you're talking about Zack in Time. Zack in Time is it was a sort of like pilot Patreon project. I don't know when it's coming out, but it was a lot of fun to do. I just haven't heard anything about it for a while, but yeah.
Seems like an interesting concept. So what do you prefer? Do you like voice work more? Or do you like acting on camera, live theater? Or do you just like want to do it all?
I kind of want to do it all, and but I'm really getting into the voiceover stuff like more and more, like just how intimate you can be with the microphone, and like just all the crazy stuff you do with your body to make those voices happen. And also you don't have to like worry about like hair and makeup and all that other kind of stuff or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But like you talk about like, I'm really into like anime and stuff like that and video games. So if I could get into any of those, that would be like a dream come true. I have a friend who is on Jujutsu Kaisen, which is a new like anime that just came out like, I think last year, and she's doing great. And, but to be a part of like a show like that, where like, buildings are collapsing, you're a wizard, like all these other kind of stuff, like, all that stuff could, just be a part of that. Cause I like anime growing up was like one of my like escapes, and it still kind of is. So
it's good stuff.
But also television and film, like, yeah.
Do you have any upcoming projects we should be on the lookout for?
Not current. I mean, right now I'm back at the Oregon Shakespeare Festival. I'm doing 12th night for them. I will be there at Orsino. Wow. Yeah. So it'll be on the outdoor stage, and it's going up June 1st through October 15th. So if anybody makes it to the Oregon Shakespeare Festival and wants to see brilliant Shakespeare, mostly done by other people, and I will be there too.
So anybody lucky enough to be around there. Yeah.
Yeah. Please come check us out.
So, take me back to Quantum Leap, your final day in Quantum Leap. Is that when you shot the scene with the arm?
That's when I shot the scene with the arm. And it's also a scene, I'm not sure if it was in the episode, but like, Ralph, the character who like throws stuff or whatever, we actually had him on the table, and you get to see like the doctor like pulling out the bloody lobotomy needle and stuff. That wasn't in the episode. That didn't make it.
I don't remember seeing it. No. The episode might have ran long. That's been happening. They had to cut stuff for time.
But what was interesting about that was like I was there with him because he gives me orders to go, sedate the other guy or whatever. And then but in order to get the tension of Peter pulling the needle out, I was like literally like holding the needle by his nose off camera so he could have the tension of like it coming out. So like, those little like camera tricks or whatever that like you hear about, but you actually get to be a part of and stuff. So that was cool. And then the last day, I got my mic, suited up and everything like that, and had the scene, and, did my lines, walked off and everything like that. And it was like, I did it a couple times because I think I was a little nervous because it was like this first time I'm speaking. Um, and then yeah, it was quick. It was easy. And then I thought I was done for the day. So I was just hanging out in, the little green room area. And then they called me back to set for some reason. And I'm just like, oh, it's like, because that's my worst nightmare. It's like, there's something that I didn't read. It's like another scene and there's like more words that you don't know are there. And then I go back on set and they're changing stuff over. And then like, the first AD is just like, and that's a wrap on Armando for this episode. And then everybody clapped and stuff like that. And I'm just like, I thought I was going to the principal's office. And they're just like, they gave a round of applause. I don't know if they knew it was like my first like thing or whatever, but like they were very nice about it and stuff. And then after that, I think they do this for every episode, but then after that we did a cast photo for everybody that was there and stuff, which was very cool. I didn't get a copy of that, but it's in the makeup trailer, I'm sure. And then that was it. Yeah.
Very cool. I have a couple silly questions. Did
Sure.
you work with the prop master, like on the fake needles? Were they fake needles, retractable, or did you just have to like mime it? How did that work?
They were retractable needles, which had a very strong spring, which like, I don't know if they fixed it in the episode, but we were having trouble just because like, Ray's struggling, right? And if the needle moves at all, it just like shoots out. So it doesn't look consistent. It's like you're dragging that all over his arm or whatever. And then it's just like, well, what if I put my thumb there to like hold it in place? So even if it does shoot out, it just shoots out in my thumb, but the camera can't see that. So I think we ended up doing that for both that time and then the other time as well, as a way to like just like solve the problem, right? So and then we also did it with like with one that had no needle in it, which they may or may not have used. But yeah. But he was very helpful in terms of like, so how can we make this work and everything like that or whatever. And I suggested that. He's like, oh, okay, well, yeah, we should try that. So yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Where did you film? Was it on a set or on a location?
It was on a set in, I want to say Santa Clarita or something like that. I don't know. But
So
but yeah,
they built
but it
that
was like
hospital, or was it like
the
an
hospital
old
room?
hospital?
Yeah. Well, the parts
Wow.
that I was in, like the lab area where they were, where she was on the table, his cell and everything like that. That's all like sets where they can like, pull out the walls and everything like that or whatever. So, and there's like, it's just like a bunch of different sets all around that studio. And yeah, it was very cool just to walk around just like, oh, this is an office. Oh, this is his office. Oh, yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Usually we talk to people before the episode airs, but luckily we're getting to talk to you after the episode airs. So what was your experience like watching yourself on network television?
It was pretty surreal. Like I said, like, I didn't do much. I had a line. I did what I was supposed to do and everything like that. But it was like, cause I'm up here and my wife's down in LA. And so like, we sort of had a Zoom watch party, which was kind of cool. Which was funny because in LA, they were like 30 seconds ahead of me. So they saw me come on camera before I did. So they're all like, yay. And I'm just like, what happened? And then I was like, oh, it's me. And yeah, it was just like, okay. I could probably go to the gym a little bit more, but yeah. But they wanted Burly, so I gave them Burly.
Yep. They picked you for a reason. So there you go. Awesome.
But it was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Awesome. So what's your biggest takeaway from Quantum Leap? And I think you're kind of spoiled from being on such a great set for your first TV job. But what will you take with you from this first TV acting job?
It's what they always tell you, like be nice to everyone. And try not to be the problem and just be aware of what's going on. Like if you see somebody coming through with something, get out of their way, that sort of thing. But know what you are doing, really be on top of what you are doing so that when it's your time to do it, you don't have to figure it out. If they're setting up the scene or whatever, and you know that you're going to be standing over there, but you can't stand there right now because like they have other stuff going on, you can look and like see how you're going to navigate that, like pay attention. Not just to like yourself, but like the environment, you know, because like if the guy with the camera has to come around this way, you have to stand in such a way that you're not in his way, you know, and that sort of thing. Like we're all working together. So like try not to be the problem, be a team player, you know, take in everything, be nice to everyone. And yeah, know your role.
Well, I enjoyed you on the episode.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you for being on the Quantum Leap podcast, Armando.
Thanks for asking. Thanks for having me.